I guess we're live already. Uh, Jeff's not feeling well tonight, who usually runs that for us, so I had to quickly learn everything. So, hello everybody. 1 second. So we're already live. But I have to get a couple things ready. So we'll just have to wait. Trying to be go with the flow here, right? When things like that happen, right? So I need a little, I need a helper tonight. I just need someone to pass out some pens. Hold on, let me get them. Okay. Yeah. Oh, there's a bunch of pens here. Here we go. And then pass out some cards too. I'll show you. Yeah. Let's see if there's any more. There's more in here. We need them. There we go. Yeah. I don't know if we need this light. All right, sorry. And then, okay. Yeah, here's the cards. I have more pens in here too. Okay. Yeah. Hold on a second. So they can pick whatever colors they want. Just everyone needs take 4 cards. You may only need 3. Is it kind of warm in here? It feels good? Okay. Everyone else okay? Yeah. If someone wants to do me a huge favor and just go on our Facebook, if you know our Facebook page, and just double check and make sure everything looks okay. Because Jeff, does anyone know our Facebook page? Okay. Ah. Yeah, it looks good. Am I in a good? Does the camera look good? Yeah. Okay. Hi, everybody. Huh? A little makeup. I need a little powder for my forehead. All right. Let me see if I can. Get that going. We got this when we have shares for later. All right. I think I'm going to sit here. So sorry for the late start there, guys. We had a little technical difficulty when I got here. So, which I kind of knew about, but I didn't know it was going to take that long to get everything set up. You know, Jeff's a wizard, the guy who runs this every week. Oh my God. Oh. So let's see here. Got to go 2 more things up, and that would be good. Okay. Can't forget to make announcements. Can you do me another huge favor? By the love offering thing, there's a little yellow pad. And it has some info I need on that. All right. I think I need a little spritz. It's a little essential oil. Anyone want some? It's beautiful. It's like a rose. It's the 7 chakras. Yeah. You could I'll let you pass, or you want to go and spritz everybody? Thank you. Okay. Everyone's got 4 cards. Thanks, Patty, for helping me with that. Isn't that nice? I'm trying to remember where I got this. I'm almost empty. All right, so try to get all this junk out of the way. We'll be ready to go. Gotta get fancy. Oh, so here we are. Welcome, everybody, to our Wednesday night Wisdom Share Sacred Practice. Thank you for your patience. I want to just start with a few announcements. Got them right here. Let's see. Next week, we have Peter Bedard is coming back, and he's going to be sharing about loving your pain. Love your pain. Learn to lovingly embrace your pain, physical, emotional, and spiritual, and harness the healing it has to offer. Peter has written a book called The Convergence Healing, and he has a 10-point process for healing that he discovered while he was healing his own life. He had gone through some immense pain from an accident, and then he had fibromyalgia, and then he had a number of issues that he had to heal from, and his whole life got turned upside down, and emotional, mental stuff he went through. So he is really, because of what he'd been through, like I was talking about with the hero's journey, right? He's really taken that and now shares it with many, many people. He's become a counselor and really helps people to deal with their pain. And we all have pain, so when we do have pain, how can we lovingly embrace it? So he's really a wonderful speaker and very clear. So come next Wednesday for Peter Bedard. The last Friday of the month, or I'm sorry, I think it's the last Friday, October 27th, we have Jeff Kingfisher. And he's going to be doing one on allowing music to heal, inner silence as a path to deep listening. He's going to be, oh, you know what? I just screwed something up. Actually, next week is Jeff, and Peter's the last Friday, because we actually changed that. I need to send a special email out because Jeff had designed his whole thing around the full moon that happens on the 20th, and I didn't know that, and I missed that message. So I'm going to send out another email. So Jeff is next week, and he's going to be sharing on the listening deeply. The evening, he said, he's just a little description is accompanying Jeff Jeff will be bringing us into a journey, into listening into the silences within the music, the spaces between the notes, the emptiness, the empty air within rhythm, and brings us to an open place within where we can more deeply receive. So it's really cool. I had a really wonderful conversation with him about that. And like all music, you maybe already know this, right? It's not the notes, it's the space between the notes that gives the music its texture, so it's pretty interesting when you think about it that way. So I guess both of them play a part, right? The notes and the silence, and the space. So he's going to be doing that next October 20th, and then Peter will be doing October 27th. So you should be getting a new email for that, with that change. All right, and so we also wanted to just share and give thanks for your generosity. Our beautiful spiritual center is run by our loving donations, and so we really appreciate all that you share to help support this beautiful center and all that we do. And so if you'd like to share a tithe or a donation, you can go to Text to Give. It's 760-389-1333. That's 760-389-1333. And or if you're here, you can give cash, however you'd like to give. And all the proceeds for this evening will be going to our center. All right, so thank you so much. I think that's it for announcements. Yeah, that's it for our Wednesday night wisdom shares. So let's begin with a little centering practice. Anyone? I could use it. Anyone? Can you tell? I brought my cowbell just in case of emergency. This is from my sound bath. I don't know how it got out here. I ring strange sounds in the middle of my sound bath. People don't know what they are. So let's begin just by giving ourselves this opportunity to stop everything and to be here now. Just take a few conscious breaths. And just noticing our body sitting here in this moment, breathing this breath, wherever we are, whether you're here in person or whether you're online, we're all creating and co-creating a sacred space, a sacred circle. All of us are supporting each other, uplifting each other in consciousness, wherever we are. And just noticing the rise and the fall of our breath as we give ourselves permission to stop. And to let everything go, anything that's going on in the world, anything that's going on in our own life, anything that might be bothering us today or has been bothering us, anything we have to take care of, all that stuff, we're going to set it outside the building, wherever you are, set it outside. As we give ourselves this hour to just stop everything and to be here now. And create a space to open to the sacred, to that beloved divine presence that is at the core and center of our own heart. As we quiet and still our mind, we align in this ancient peace that is always here underneath the busyness and chaos and dramas of the world, and under the busyness of our own mind, our own lives. Underneath all of that is this ancient peace, a place of refuge within. And so we align in the sacred space, and we open up to the divine wisdom. We open up to our inner guidance. This creative power and source that is everywhere present in the entire universe and is right here, right now, the core and center of each one. As we align in this vibration of peace. We are in perfect alignment to receive whatever our soul needs to hear this evening. Knowing that we've created and co-created a sacred space. We're opening up to that inner wellspring of wisdom and guidance that is always here. And so within this place of openness and receptivity, we throw the doors wide open to the infinite possibilities. We create that space for that divine presence to guide us and to show us from our own heart. And may it show us tonight in some ways that we wouldn't expect, so that we know that it came from this divine presence. This deep inner wisdom that is much deeper than the intellect that tries to figure things out. We tap into the depth of this wisdom right now. So in this place of alignment, connected with this beloved divine presence, knowing that it is always working in our favor and for us. And as we get into alignment with it, it guides us in beautiful, profound, and unexpected ways. And so for this, we give thanks. We release this now, knowing that we're all here in perfect divine order. Everyone receives exactly what we need to receive this evening. And we let this go, we let spirit have its way, and we say together, and so it is. So, we're all in alignment, yeah? Let's see, where did that go? So I wanted to start with a little reading this evening, something I actually wrote a while back, and it has to do with following the passion of our heart. Live your magic. Do what you're passionate about. We are all here to fully express, to fully self-express. There is something within each of us that is yearning to be shared in the world, both in small ways and also in big, profound, magnificent ways. I had a mentor years ago who guided me to follow my heart and to live a life of following what I'm passionate about, what I find interesting, what I find meaningful, what brings me a sense of joy. He said, if you simply follow these things, your life will become meaningful, fulfilling, and a life of great joy, fulfillment, and love. I had no idea what he was talking about or how to live like this. So he asked me a few more questions. What gets you excited? What gets you excited in kind of a passionate way? What gets you angry? What makes you envious? What opens your heart? What pulls on your heartstring? He said, maybe you run across a watercolor painting class and it piques some interest because it was something in the back of your mind that you've always wanted to try out, maybe drawing or painting. He said, take that class. You never know where it will lead you. What gets you angry about what's going on in the world today? Anger is a powerful motivating factor, and we can channel wisely, and it can lead us to great change within ourselves and in the world. He said, volunteer for that organization that is doing good works in the world and address what you are angry about. What makes you envious when you see someone else doing something that you wish you could do or be? He said, instead of beating up on yourself for not being there yet, take that class, pick up that flute, start your own business. Cultivate something within yourself that you appreciate about somebody else. He says, start your own business and know when you're envious, that means that is the direction that you're growing, when it is in alignment with your true, heartfelt passion. So envy is not a bad thing, right? Now, you don't want to buy into it, right? You want to see it for what it is, but quite often, I've noticed that in my own life, that when I remember when I had my first spiritual teacher, Reverend Dr. Don Burt. I loved the way he spoke. He was such an amazing speaker. He just was so inspiring to me. Like, I just loved it, and I would also feel envy. I loved him, but I also felt envy. I used to get upset with myself about that. But I realized after a number of years that that's actually the direction I was growing, you see. So it's all in the way we look at it. But that was my passion. That was an indicator of my passion. He said, do not force, follow. Follow what you are passionate about, while using the wide spectrum of all your gifts and talents. Cultivate gifts and talents to support your passion, and you will be living a life of your deepest heartfelt desires. Share your magic, your truth, your true self, your love, your passion in the world with patience and self-compassion. You can share your awesomeness in the world in new, exciting, and even unexpected ways. Believe in the magic that is you. I don't know when I wrote that. I wrote that a few years ago. So I love that. I just ran across that when I was looking up some stuff for this evening. So there's a lot of books out there about finding your passion, right? Or finding your purpose. Have you noticed that? There's a lot of books and a lot of stuff out there about finding your purpose. Well, I'm here to tell you, you don't have to find it. It'll find you. If we follow those things that are interesting, meaningful, bring us a sense of joy. If we step out, he used to always say, and I shared about this on Sunday if you were there, he used to say, get outside of your comfort zone. Do those things you think you can't do. And just do them. Have fun with it. Don't have to be perfect, but do it. He used to always tell me to get outside of your comfort zone. I used to hate that, And I also loved it, because he was right. And I still have to do that. I'm constantly having to do that. I'm so resistant sometimes. It shows up as procrastination. Anyone? Procrastination for 5 years. I was looking at something just the other day because Jeff and I are working on a CD, my next little series of meditations and stuff like that. Because I published one about 5 years ago, right? Well, about 2 years ago, I ran across a picture. I thought we started last year. No, it was 2 years ago we started. It's still not finished. 2 years ago. Now, I did meet with him 2 weeks ago, and we're doing some final editing. So we're finally getting it, but it took us 2 years. Of course, there was COVID and all this stuff, okay. But really, did I really have to not do it, There's a little procrastination I've noticed when we're following our passions sometimes when we don't know what it's going to look like. We're afraid to step out, and we don't know what it's going to look like. But that's what it takes to follow our passion. We've got to be able to be okay with that, to step outside of our comfort zone, even when we don't know what it's going to look like, right? So this workshop that I'm sharing with you tonight, I'm sharing excerpts of a workshop I did a few years ago, and it's called Following the Passion of Your Soul. And on Sunday, I talked a little bit about this. Love leads the way, and the law makes the way possible. Love leads the way, and the law makes the way possible. There are laws and principles in the creative process and how it works in the world. And when we realize and recognize and get into alignment with this creative power and source, it's fascinating how it starts to work with us, right? And when we start to recognize and realize that it's our consciousness that creates, what I focus my attention on grows. How I think, of course, grows. We say in this teaching, Science of Mind and Spirit, we always say, change your thinking, change your life. Ernest Holmes coined that many in the 30s. Change your thinking, change your life. Now you hear it everywhere. I think, who was it? Someone wrote a book called Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. I think it was, who was it? He just passed about a few years ago. Wayne Dyer, yeah. Wayne Dyer wrote a book called Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. I'm like, okay, where'd he get that? He stole that from Ernest Holmes. Well, Ernest Holmes stole a lot of stuff from everybody else too, so it doesn't matter. It's just truth. As we change our thinking, we change our life, They talk about subatomic particles. What you pay attention to has an effect on what you're paying attention to, right? So like if I pay attention to a plant, that plant's going to do well. It's going to grow. If I don't pay attention to it, it may be okay if it happens to get enough rain or something like that. But if I pay attention to it and I tend to it and I nurture it, what's going to happen, right? This is quantum physics. Quantum physics. We think it's something new. No, it's been around forever. We're just kind of we're kind of figuring out on a subatomic particle basis how it all works, But really, I think, pretty simple. What you pay attention to grows, So if we start following our passion, we start paying attention, if we start focusing our attention on what gets us excited, what pulls on our heartstrings, that's what's going to grow in our life. When I first started on this path, when I was 20 years old, I was so confused. I had no idea what to do with my life. I was angry and angst and anxious, and I grew up I mentioned a little bit in my newsletter, I grew up in a crazy household. It was insane. I never knew what to expect when I came home at night. I had lots of emotional disturbance issues when I started on this path. I didn't address any of that till I was about 28 years old. But I had a successful business. I was a very hard worker, and I worked in the trades, and I started my own little business, and I did very, very well with that. I had a cruise going and a warehouse and accountants and bookkeepers, and so the business was going really well, but I still thought I was so stupid because I grew up in this environment where I thought, I had a little bit of a learning disability when I was a kid. I'd take special ed classes after school and special ed summer school, and I just couldn't focus. I grew up in a crazy environment. Well, I bought into this idea that I was stupid. I believed it, hook, line, and sinker, And when I met Reverend Don Burt, when I stepped into this teaching, he started telling me, he said, stand guard at the threshold of your mind. Watch what you're thinking. He started teaching me how to think. He said, if you
follow those things that are interesting and meaningful and bring you a sense of joy. If you follow those things, this will become your life work. But you got to follow them, and you got to move outside of your comfort zone. I had no idea what the hell that meant. How am I going to make money? I make money doing construction work. What do you mean, follow what I love? No idea what he meant by that. I thought it was quite ridiculous, actually. But I heard something in that, because I was so unhappy and so much angst inside of me, and anger. And so he started working with me, and he was telling me, even your anger is okay. It's not a bad thing, but don't buy into it, you know? He started teaching me how to listen to those disturbing emotions and disturbing thoughts and the old patterns, and he helped me to kind of move through them. And he said, it's informing you. What you've been through up until now has prepared you for what's next. This is a key component to the following the passion of our soul. What's been happening in your life up until now has prepared you for what's next. So what if you could start to honor your past? I'm like, what do you mean? Even my mother? Yeah, especially your mother. And my mother and I were like this, because she was an alcoholic, raging, angry alcoholic, very angry and abusive, physically, mentally, emotionally, And I grew up in that environment. And so it was when I started recognizing that I had been through that on some level for some reason to prepare me for something. Gangaji, one of my teachers who I adore, if you ever check her out, she wrote a book called The Diamond in Your Pocket. Gangaji. She says that all you've been through, all the challenges, all the harshness, the insanity of life and the world, and we're not condoning anyone's bad behavior, we're not saying that, but all that we had been through has been the polishing of the diamond of your heart. That's much easier said than done, but on some level there's truth there, right? All that we've been through has been the polishing of the diamond of our heart. So when we start to recognize this, and so I started doing forgiveness work with my mother. A couple years after that, I stumbled upon the 4 agreements, and it said, don't take it all so damn personally. Your mother had issues, and so do you, basically. And I was able to start to forgive my mother, and I stopped trying to change her. I made new agreements with her, with myself, and everything started to change. And when I finally did that, when I finally started, recognizing my mother, I knew that underneath the insanity of it all, that she loved her kids more than everything. I knew that, but she didn't know how to love, And so all that stuff, the healing of that, helped me follow the passion of my heart, And so I started doing that, and I went to school. I left my business in Chicago, moved to San Diego, was signed up for the Holmes Institute. That's a whole other story. I didn't end up there. I ended up in Huntsville, Alabama. That's a whole other story. But my mentor, who was teaching me all this, I said, Mark, when I was leaving, I was very clear on where I was going. Because I'm going to follow my heart. I'm going to go become a minister. He thought I was a little crazy, actually, because I was a mess. He's like, okay, whatever. But he did tell me, he said, watch out for important side roads along the way. You do think you're going somewhere, but be open for side roads, for invitations. Just be open. That's all he said. And I left. And I went to a retreat, my first retreat in my life. I was 30 years old. It was at Asilomar. It was one of our retreats. And I met some amazing people. I met Reverend David Leonard from Huntsville, Alabama. Now he's from the East Coast, but he happened to be in Huntsville at the time. And I met somebody who had a romantic interest while I was on that retreat. And so my romantic interest and I started kind of doing this long distance thing. Next thing you know, I'm moving to Huntsville, Alabama. So it was a very important side road, and I had a beautiful time there in Huntsville, of all places. I never would have chosen to go to Huntsville, Alabama, but the love interest brought me there. That lasted 3 months. And David was my teacher for 7 years, and had a beautiful garden and a beautiful home. I lived out in right outside of a state park on Montesano, and Montesano means mountain of health. And so I healed while I was there. that a healing work. For 7 years I lived on the mountain. Sounds very heroic, right? For 7 years I lived on the mountain, and then I came down into the desert. Right? So we all have our strange journey, right? I'll tell you more about that some other day. So you all have 3 cards, and for those of you who are online, you could just do this on a piece of paper. You don't need 3. You don't need. I gave everyone 3 index cards so they can kind of separate it. You could do it on one piece of paper if you want to. I want to do a little bit of self-inquiry. Okay. Now I know we have our direction. We got our stuff going on in our life. You're probably all clear on where you're going with your life, to some degree or another. But I want you to just kind of set that all what's going on aside as we throw the doors wide open to some infinite possibilities, because you never know what comes up with this stuff, So I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and I'm just going to have you write down spontaneously as fast as you can. I'm going to give you like a minute each, so it's not going to be a lot, just enough just to be a little bit spontaneous, okay? I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and I'm going to title. I'll tell you which. When I ask you the first question, I'm going to have you title that card, or if you're on the line, just make a page note. And then I'm going to have you go into the letting whatever comes up for you to write it down, okay? So let's take a few conscious breaths again. We're just going to go with it. It's going to be kind of a guided, kind of meditative kind of practice, okay? So we're doing it with our eyes open if you want even. It's okay. And just noticing again your body sitting here wherever you find yourself, whatever spot you find yourself sitting. Just taking a few conscious breaths. Your whole life up until now has prepared you for this moment. Every experience, everything has prepared us and is preparing us for the full self-expression, this ever-evolving, ever-expanding expression of who we are. We don't just one day get there, It's an ongoing, ever-evolving, twisting, winding road. So can we accept that? It doesn't mean we have to get a new career every year. It's just about just being open to where our passion is guiding us, And so just noticing your body sitting here as we create some space for ourselves. Again, to throw the doors wide open to the infinite possibilities of who we are right now and who we're becoming. I mean, each one of us is on a path. Each one of us has amazing gifts and talents, qualities and attributes already within us, and much yet to be discovered. We're ever-growing, ever-evolving beings. So we begin this practice by honoring ourselves right where we are in this moment, just as we are. And the right where we are in this moment is absolutely right where we're supposed to be at this particular time, this particular point on our path of life. And so we begin by absolutely honoring ourselves where we are in this moment. Bringing some self-compassion, self-love to where we are. And also remembering that no matter how young or old we are, that we're always growing, always learning, always evolving. And the universe, this creative power and source that created all of life, is yearning for us to continue to share and to be and to become our truest self-expression. No limits, no holding back. And this can happen in little ways, in beautiful little ways, like making chocolate chip cookies. Or it could happen in big, wonderful, profound ways, where you begin an organization, or you simply volunteer for some place that is doing wonderful work. So I invite you right now, with our minds and hearts open, to just write down just a handful, 5 or 10 things, if you can think of. I want you to title your first card, Interesting. Just put the word interesting at the very top. And then just write down a handful of things, 5 or 10 things, or as many as you want, that you find interesting about life, the world, that maybe you would like to investigate. Maybe something new that you've been thinking about that you'd like to investigate a little more. If you can imagine if you were to walk into some huge magazine store and every topic you could imagine is in that magazine store, what magazine would you like to open to investigate or to learn more or to follow those things that are interesting to you? I find honeybees quite interesting in how they work together. These little creatures have a whole system, intelligence, that I can't even fathom. I find the universe, the infinite space and universe so fascinating and interesting. I find self-help books interesting. I love learning about that stuff in so many ways. So just write down a handful of ways, things that you find interesting. Don't worry, you could always add more later. So on your next card, I'd like you to title the next card, Meaningful. Meaningful. And make a list of the things that you find meaningful about life or the world. Now, of course, our family, our pets, our dogs, we know that we find this. You could write those down too. But even outside of that, what do you see that's going on in the world that you see is very meaningful and might pull on your heartstrings a little bit or a lot? Just write down just a list of things that you find meaningful, that are maybe some organizations that are doing great works in the world, or that sometimes can help us get in alignment with that. And on the last card, write down enjoy. What things bring you a sense of joy? It's fun, excitement. What brings you joy? I know playing with my little nephew brings me such joy. So many things. So just imagine, again, just throw the doors wide open with all this. What brings you a sense of joy that's fun in healthy ways, right? right. So now you can continue to add to these. I encourage you to journal on this, tonight, tomorrow, for next week, however long you want to. It's really amazing that when you start to do that, it's just like getting the creative juices flowing, the creative energy flowing when you do this kind of stuff. We don't usually, quite often, we don't ask ourselves these questions. So these are three powerful questions. What's interesting? What's meaningful? What brings you a sense of joy? Yeah. Today. Right? Doesn't have to be about the future or the past or what you did in the past. That's one of the things, I do a whole workshop on this, which is about a 2.5, 3-hour workshop. And one of the things we do is we clear who we used to be. Clear it all, who I think I am, who I think I'm not, who I think I should be or shouldn't have been, and all that stuff. Clear it out. Remove all the labels. We all have our labels, identifications, the way we talk, we think about ourselves. And those aren't bad things. We all have them. But sometimes we might over-identify with who we used to be. I think I have to be that still for whatever reason I've conjured up. Right? So can you imagine erasing all the labels, identifications, just for this little bit of time? So we can throw the doors wide open to these infinite possibilities. You might notice when I say that, you might think of more things to come that are interesting and meaningful, bring you a sense of joy, where you don't have to be somebody or not be somebody. It frees us up. So I do a whole little process with that. And then we move into, so the first thing is we're opening up. The first part when I was talking about all that, we're opening up to new possibilities. The second thing there is clearing the past, clearing our identifications and labels so that we can have a clean slate where we get to choose who we want to be, who we want to become. And then the third part is allowing. Now, when we move into allowing, we're expanding our soul. There's infinite possibilities. So when we open up to allowing, we're kind of opening, we do a thing called the visioning process. Anyone ever do the visioning process? Yeah. So we close the door, we get quiet for a few minutes, and we open up to I love this, what Michael Beckwith says, Dr. Michael Beckwith says, where we catch God's vision for our life. Not Mark's, who thinks he's got to control something, God's vision for my life, So now, it's not about Mark having to be somebody or not be somebody to be good enough, right? Now it's coming from something much deeper. And we catch that vision. And even talking about it. We don't have time to do all the whole processes tonight. We only have an hour. But you can see that we can throw the doors open to the infinite possibilities by visioning. The visioning process, what we're doing is we're creating that space to let that creative energy arise. And then we listen to it. What's it saying? I remember one time I was doing a visioning process, and this lady wanted to ride a bike. She hadn't ridden a bike in years, but she just got busy and just stopped riding her bike. So she started riding her bike. And then while she was on her bike, she started doing it regularly. So I think she was doing it like in the mornings or something before work or something. And she started riding the bike. And then while she was on the bike, she started thinking about how she loved to write, how she stopped writing. And she started picking up writing again. And at last I heard, and I haven't talked to this person in many years, but at last I heard she said she was thinking about writing a book, based on her life. And so you never know where it's going to bring you. The reason why I bring that up is you never know. You might be in this kind of imagined visioning process thing, and you think about riding a bike. Well, it might lead you to something else, you see. So you open up to that. And then you set your intentions. We set our intentions through affirmations and prayers and getting clear intentions. I love, one of my teachers would say, if your intentions are clear, if they're meaningful and heartfelt, and you make a commitment to them, they will absolutely begin to grow in our life. So you just made some lists. Now what if I invited you now to follow some of those things? Now if you look at your 3 lists, your 3 questions, you may notice there's some overlaps. Maybe some of the things made on all 3 cards. Now if you think about it, you might want to add them to all 3 cards, if you see how they might relate, right? And you start to see then, through this process, that this is passionate. This is something that I really find passionate. you know. And so if you set an intention then to take some action in that direction, it could just be, like I said, taking a class, or maybe just going on Google. It's that easy. Go on Google. Everything's on Google now. Google it. If you Google it, there's a lot of information there. You might follow that in some way, whatever came up for you. Or maybe it'll be starting a garden, you know, and then doing some exploration around that. Have fun with it, right? So what is your intention? And then we, like tending to the garden, we commune with that passion. We want to stay in touch with it. We don't want to just do this once and then we let it go. We forget about it. It's not going to grow. So if we get quiet and still every day like this and really commune with that inner wisdom, it'll guide us each day how to follow those things, to step outside of our comfort zone. So it's pretty fascinating. And so then that's how you begin to follow it. So the following is just you going out, you taking action, you sharing, you going, whether it's just picking up a book, making chocolate chip cookies, starting a garden, whatever it is. You start to follow it. But we have to give it that action of doing, right, on some level. We got to start to follow it now. We have to take the action steps to actually have it to come to fruition, you see. So the following is the work, but it's the fun part. Is that getting outside of our comfort zone, taking that class, that watercolor class. I did that once. It was so rewarding. And I just took that class. I never did it again. I just didn't have the time for it. I would love to do it again. One of these days I have to carve out some time to do it again. But it was such a fun watercolor class. I met so many cool people, It was just fun. So we're not doing this to try and figure anything out. Sound good? You see where the mind goes right away? You don't have to figure anything out. If you get clear and you follow these things, they're going to start to show up. You can be invited to do those things. I did a talk this last Sunday, and it was called "You'll Be Invited." And so we're absolutely invited when we get clear, to just simply follow our heart, So who wants to share? What did you notice in all this so far? I wish I had more time. I wish I had, I forgot how involved this was, as far as like the steps that I have in here. But would anyone like to share what came up for you during the process of the inquiry? Did you know something new? Is something asking? Is there some kind of passion coming up in some way maybe you already have, or maybe some new way? Maybe it's adding to, giving some texture to. Unfortunately, people online, I can't take your questions tonight because Jeff's not here. So if you're typing things, I'm not over there, and no one is. So sorry. But you can type it, and I'll look at it later. How's that sound? Okay. So anyway, anyone want to share? Yeah. Can you pass it, Angie? Can you pass it to Angela? I always call you the wrong. That's good.
What I noticed was under the sense of joy.
Want to share your name for people who might not know you?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name's Debbie.
Yeah, thanks.
And under the sense of joy, I have a lot of things that I have a sense of joy about. But I noticed that when I wrote them down, these are things that I sometimes I feel like they're not serious enough, or they're not meaningful enough, or they're not, it's like I love to binge watch TV sometimes, and oh my God, you watch so much TV. This is my inner critic.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that I haven't really allowed myself to feel some of the things that are on my list.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
And so it kind of gives me permission. Doing this process gives me permission to do that.
Yeah.
To it doesn't matter what it is. It
No.
doesn't matter what my sense of joy is, if yours isn't that. It just matters that I enjoy it, and I can do it and not feel this inner critic like, Well, you didn't accomplish anything today. You know?
Right, right.
You just sat around and Googled or, whatever
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and as you get clear and you set some intentions around these things that you really find interesting and meaningful, and it will step us into sometimes action in some way, shape, or form, or inaction. Telling us that some things that are no longer working, you get kind of both. When you start to follow this stuff, things that might be getting in our way, you may notice that. But at the same time, you may, if you said you like to binge watch certain things, hey, that's a wonderful outlet. Why not? We need to take care of ourselves. We need to nurture that joy.
yeah.
We need to nurture those things that are fun for us. But I love what someone told me years ago. I can't remember who said it, but we're here to have fun on this planet. We're not here to suffer and be miserable,
Or to pay the bills.
right? We're here to enjoy life. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's easier said than done sometimes. It just is. When we're having great challenges, it's harder to enjoy life when we're having some great challenges. But in the general sense, even our greatest challenges, we can carve out some time for ourselves to nurture and take care of ourselves. Create that joy for ourselves, a sense of joy, or things that we enjoy, right? Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Who else wants to share? Anybody else? Anything come up? Interesting, meaningful, bring you a sense of joy?
Hello, my name's Angelina. What I noticed is that I have been in the same career, which I do love. I've been doing it for about 30 years almost, and I have to go back to school now to finish my degree just to keep my employment. And I noticed that when I went back to school to take the classes for this career that I've been doing for so long, I'm finding no joy in the classes. So I took a break and I met someone coming here for a sound bath, and I actually am already doing it because what I wanted to do was to learn new things and enhance my spirituality, and that's kind of how I ended up here already, and that's also kind of what's on my list. And I wanted to learn how to study alternative medicine, like Reiki and stuff like that. That's interesting to me. I work in I'm a nurse, so I work in medicine, but I kind of would like to expand my knowledge in working at like more Eastern medicine or things like that are a little bit more interesting. And I will finish my degree. It's just that I realized that I wasn't really following my passion to do that. So even coming here tonight, that's something I'm doing for myself while I'm in the break to do something for me that I want to learn. So that's that's kind of what my cards reflected. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. It's kind of anchoring this passion of yours about doing things holistically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Both.
Yeah.
You can use both, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. So yeah, it's the passion of our soul. Our soul is yearning for us to express, right? I was talking with someone earlier today about what is the soul, right? It's an interesting question. What is the soul? Paul? Do you know what it is? The soul is our true self. That's it. It's our true essential self. And it wants to express. It's that little kid jumping onto bed before we started judging ourselves. When we used to just run around the backyard and do silly things and investigate and before we started comparing ourselves to other people. Right? That's our soul. That's always there. It just gets kind of covered up by all this insanity. Yeah, anyone else want to share? Yeah, I'm going to give it to Gail.
My name is Gail, and I wrote on my card when we were talking about what is interesting, and I've been going through about a 3-month process of creating a workshop. It's called The Key: Unlocking the Mystery of Divine Human Potential. And as I've been working on it over the course of this time, I realized, oh, wow, I have to continue. I have to take more responsibility. And I realized it takes courage to do that. It takes courage to, as you said, Mark, step outside the box. But oftentimes we're asked, and I haven't really been asked to be courageous, or haven't been conscious that I have to be courageous, and or to take responsibility and to step out beyond what I'm comfortable with. So I find it interesting that when we're open to those forces that are driving us, a lot of times it's not easy, and it requires courage to do it.
Absolutely, yeah. That's huge, right? It takes the courage to follow those things, right? Yeah. It's easier said than done. Anybody else? Anybody over here in the right wing? No? Okay. Oh, thank you. So, following our passion should be fun. And it can be little simple things. We don't have to reinvent our life. Now you may. There may be a reinvention going on in maybe little ways, but we don't have to leave our jobs to do this, you know. It could be that might happen. But we want to start where we're at, you know, and just simply follow those things. We'll be guided. And I love this idea, like I talked about on Sunday, we'll be invited. We'll be invited to do what's next. You don't have to figure it all out. You'll be invited. You'll be invited in a number of different ways. You'll be invited from within your own heart. You'll be invited from invitations, like literally coming to you. Hey, you should come take this class. This sounds really interesting. You know, someone will just come out and blurt it out and say it to you. You'll see it in synchronicities. The invitations come in synchronicities, serendipities, you know. I remember one time when I was just graduated as a minister, and I knew I had to leave. I was in Huntsville, my little comfort zone. Oh, in a little mountain home. I had it so cute, so sweet. But I knew something was calling me. I had to step out of that. I'd been there for a little over 7 years, and I'm like, I don't know. And I went to Asilomar again, and I was at a retreat, and I didn't know what to do next. I was like at a loss. And I got while I was there, I was walking to dinner, and I was in a kind of a mood I didn't want to talk to anybody, because there's a lot of talking when you go to these retreats sometimes, some of these retreats, you know, especially back in the day. A lot of it was social. And it wasn't a silent retreat. It was more of an inspirational retreat. And so anyway, so I'm walking there, and this couple's walking next to me. I didn't know them, never saw them before. And they start saying, oh, where are you from? I'm like, I don't really want to talk right now. I'm like, I just want to be by myself. But they start talking to me, oh, where are you from? They're being really nice, so I had to be nice back. And so we're going on. And I see his name is Daniel Backstrom. And I was like, oh, I see you have an interesting last name. That was the name of my chiropractor back in Chicago. And he's like, is this, I think his brother, what was his brother's name? David or Daniel. They had close names. And he's like, David Backstrom? That's my brother. Like, what are the chances of my chiropractor in Chicago, you know, being me walking? And I just had gotten an invitation from my spiritual teacher to come work with him back in Chicago. My first reaction was that I'm not going to go back to Chicago. That's going backwards. I'm not going to do that. So I said, oh, whatever. And then I meet this guy walking to the dinner, and they're the Backstrom family, you know. So I thought, that's kind of weird. Well, the next day, I had to go into town because I had this eczema or something going on my leg or something. And I left my medication at home because I had to fly there, you know. And I had to go to what do they call it, little urgent care kind of place, because they had to give a prescription for it, because I couldn't just go buy it off the counter, you know. So I'm sitting there in the lobby waiting and waiting and waiting in the lobby. And this is in Monterey Bay, California, right? And I pick up a magazine. I picked up the magazine because I just thought the painting on the front was really cool. It was like some kind of cool art. I just picked it up and I started looking at it. I'm reading through it. And I didn't even notice it, but it was the university, Illini University, or it was a university in Chicago. It was maybe DePaul University in Chicago. And that's where the magazine was from. And so I'm reading it, and I'm just opening up I'm just reading this random article. And I'm reading it, and I'm like, in the middle of reading it, it was about this Spanish kid who came from Mexico, and how these two sweet little nuns helped him along the way, and how he learned English, and how it was some story about his life, and how helping people, and how they were so wonderful. I'm reading this whole article. I don't even know why I'm reading it. At the end of the article, I see a picture of two nuns, Sister Sarah and Sister Rose. They were my two nuns from when I was in grade school. I thought, what the hell? Who makes this stuff up, you know? So sometimes the synchronicities, the invitations come in synchronicities. So I went back to Chicago, and I did my internship there. You know, and it was a wonderful time. I'm so glad I went. I got to be with my grandmother for the last few years of her life. You know, anyway, I healed a lot of stuff when I was there too. And I got sober when I was in Chicago. So there's a lot of things I went through going back there. And so, you know, that's the way sometimes the invitation is. Sometimes the invitations come from, I mentioned it earlier, envy. You say, oh, I love what that person's doing. I want to be like them. You know? And just as an indicator, it's like, oh, maybe following that might be an indication of your passion. And I didn't mention another one was anger. Sometimes anger, if you find yourself getting angry with what's going on in the world, you know, that could be an invitation, you know, a righteous invitation. And not to be right or to make someone wrong, but sometimes anger is a sign that something's out of balance, something needs attention, there's some clarity, some truth needs to be spoken. Anger can be a very powerful thing. And that's how I ended up getting involved with the Climate Reality Project, which I'm now the chair of the Riverside County chapter. I'm the co-chair of the Riverside County chapter now, because of my anger. I did not get involved with Climate Reality because I just had nothing else to do. I got involved with it because I was pissed about some things that weren't happening, right? Or some of the things that were happening. You see? So that's the way it works. And I encourage you to continue to follow it. I may offer a whole workshop on this. If you guys, anyone interested in a workshop? Yeah. It's a little bit more extended. So these steps, we go take it a little bit deeper. It's, I actually have a 4-part workshop, but I might try and condense it into just a little bit of a longer one. I think we could probably get it done in one workshop. So, all right. So, sound good? Anything else? No? All right. Well, thank you all for coming tonight. Following the passion of our soul, you know, is an ongoing, ever-evolving thing. We're not going to just get it one day, right? We don't want to stay stuck either, you know, so we want to keep letting ourselves expand. Have fun with it, right? Follow what's interesting, meaningful, and brings us a sense of joy. I like the joy part, right? Yeah. All right, everybody, have a beautiful night. Thank you all for coming. And come join us next week for Jeff Kingfisher, as he's doing this whole music thing that aligns with the full moon. Yeah, so it's going to be pretty cool. All right? Sound good. Thank you, guys. Bye. Yeah, you could just put him on the chair there. I'll pick him up. I'll go turn that off real quick.